so we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, and so the topic that I'm talking about is developing soft skills for clinical impact for SLPs. And I'm Sierra Arceneaux. I'm a certified speech language pathologist. Currently, I am enrolled as a clinical doctoral student with Brown University. I have a master's degree from Southern University and also a bachelor's of arts degree from University of Louisiana at Lafayette. And so I'm certified with ASHA, also with my state within in Texas. I'm also a part of several of the SIG groups, which is the special interest groups with ASHA. Also part of the Multicultural Issues Board with ASHA and SIG 11, which is Administration and Supervision with their Professional Development Committee. I'm also a part of TISHA's CE Registry Reviewer Board. I'm also a member of SISTAS, which is Sisters in Speech Therapy and Audiology, and I have served as the vice president and president for the Houston chapter. Some of the for my community, I'm a part of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, and we advocate for young Black girls and women. And so some of my previous presentations, I've presented on autism strategies and resources with the Houston chapter of SISTAS. For NCBW, which is the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, I presented on autism. And I did a presentation for SISTAS New York, Unmasking the Imposter, Conquering Self-Doubt in Speech Language Pathology. And I did a presentation for HISD, which is Houston Independent School District, on imposter syndrome. And then I recently did one on imposter syndrome as well for Region 4 in Texas. Alrighty, and so this topic introduces the importance of soft skills. Sorry, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry about that, y'all. All right, there we go. I was trying to move the video. And so this topic introduces the importance of soft skills and emotional intelligence in enhancing clinical outcomes. SLPs play a vital role in patient care, often working closely with students, clients, families, and interdisciplinary teams. And this presentation aims to explore how emotional intelligence and soft skills contribute to building trust, improving communication, and then also fostering empathy in clinical settings. All right, the objectives of this presentation, they include the first one is to identify key soft skills that are particularly relevant for SLPs. The second one is to understand the role of emotional intelligence in clinical practice. Third is to learn the effective strategies for developing and applying these skills. And the fourth is to explore real-world scenarios that illustrate the practical use of emotional intelligence and soft skills in clinical environments. These objectives are designed to equip SLPs with the tools and insights that they need to enhance their interpersonal effectiveness, improve patient outcomes, and also foster collaborative relationships within their healthcare teams. All right, so the dictionary defines soft skills as personal attributes that enable someone to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. So soft skills are non-technical abilities that influence how professionals interact with others. In clinical practice, these skills are important for building trust and rapport with patients, enhancing collaboration with families and interdisciplinary teams, and then ultimately improving patient outcomes and satisfaction. For SOPs, soft skills support ethical and empathetic care, enabling them to navigate complex emotional and social dynamics. These competencies complement technical expertise, making sure that the therapy is not only effective, but also compassionate and also patient-centered. And the importance of soft skills lies in their ability to transform clinical interactions into meaningful therapeutic relationships. So that's the importance of soft skills in the clinical practice. All right, now looking at the essential soft skills for professional success. And so soft skills are vital for success in professional settings, school, private, rehab, and medical, as they facilitate effective communication, collaboration, and problem solving. Communication involves verbal, written, and listening skills, enabling individuals to convey complex ideas and clearly and understand others effectively. Teamwork is the ability to work collaboratively with others towards a shared goal, also fostering a cooperative and productive environment. Problem solving refers to the capacity to identify issues, evaluate options, and also implement effective solutions. Adaptability is the flexibility to adjust to new situations and also changing priorities, which is essential in dynamic work environments. Emotional intelligence emotional intelligence encompasses understanding and managing one's own emotions and those of others. So that includes empathy and interpersonal sensitivity. Time management involves organizing and prioritizing tasks to meet deadlines efficiently. And work ethic involves traits such as reliability, discipline, and commitment to delivering high quality work. Creativity is the ability to think innovatively and generate new ideas, contributing to continuous improvement and innovation. And so, together, these soft skills form a comprehensive toolkit that enhances individual performance and supports organizational success. And so, all of the skills that I just talked about, those are all part of soft skills. And so, I'm very visual. So, whenever I'm thinking about things and trying to understand it, I always try to have a visual. And so you can think of soft skills as being an umbrella and look at the raindrops. There's different traits that are in those raindrops. And so these traits are often non-technical, meaning that it's not job related with or having skills or knowledge. And it also relates to how the individuals interact with others and how they manage their work responsibilities. And so look at all of those raindrops. We have emotional intelligence, teamwork, time management, problem solving, work ethic, adaptability, and time adaptability. And those were some of those traits that I just talked about in the previous slide. And so one of the big traits is emotional intelligence. And so emotional intelligence is, on the other hand, it's a specific subset of soft skills. So it's like a smaller set of sub skills underneath the soft skills. So like it's right here, it's a little raindrop, but it has different skills within that. And so emotional intelligence, these soft skills that focus on the ability for someone to understand, manage, and use their emotions effectively. Emotional intelligence involves self-awareness. It involves empathy, emotional regulation. It also involves social skills. While emotional intelligence is a critical component of soft skills, it does not contain the entire spectrum. It's just a tiny part of what soft skills are. It's just a tiny little raindrop. And so the key distinction lies in the scope. So soft skills are broader and include various traits and behaviors, whereas emotional intelligence is centered specifically on emotional and interpersonal dynamics. And understanding this difference is crucial for professionals aiming to develop a well-rounded skill set that enhances them both personally and then also their team performance. All right, so how does this go along with us? How does it affect SLPs? What are some key soft skills for SLPs? So SLPs benefit from a range of soft skills that enhance their clinical effectiveness. Active listening allows SLPs to fully understand patient concerns and respond appropriately. Empathy helps in building trust and emotional connection with patients and families. Having that adaptability enables professionals or SLPs to adjust their approach based on individual needs and changing circumstances. Conflict resolution skills are essential for managing disagreements within teams or with clients or families. And then clear communication ensures that therapeutic goals and instructions are understood by all stakeholders, everyone involved. And these soft skills collectively contribute to a supportive and responsive clinical environment. All right, so we learned about what are soft skills, learning about one of the subsets of soft skills, which is emotional intelligence, and we'll learn a little bit more about that. But what are some strategies that we can use to help us to develop those soft skills? And so we develop soft skills, it requires intentional practice and reflection. Reflective practice involves regularly evaluating one's interactions and identifying areas for improvement. Later on, I'm going to show you a tool that I use to evaluate my own emotional intelligence and how I identified my areas of improvement and a plan that I use to address this and build on my soft skills and emotions. Also, seeking feedback from colleagues and supervisors provides external perspectives on interpersonal effectiveness. That's another way to develop those soft skills. Another way is role-playing exercises. It can simulate real-life scenarios, allowing SLPs to practice responses and refine their approach. And later we'll look at some different scenarios and we'll learn how we can build soft skills for those. And just for personal, just to kind of let you all know, like, I have a life coach therapist, and something that we do in therapy, especially working in a new role as a leader, we did a lot of like role playing where she gave me different scenarios, and she's like, okay, what would you do in this situation if you're dealing with a parent? If a parent says this, how would you react to this? And we did some role playing where she pretended to be the parent or the employee, and then I gave her my response. So role playing can help you to develop those soft skills. Mindfulness and stress management techniques can help professionals remain calm and focused during challenging situations. And something that I've been researching is on imposter syndrome and perceived stress and looking into how it correlates with mindfulness meditations. And so that is something that I'm interested in looking more into is mindfulness with soft skills. And so continuous learning through workshops, reading, mentorships fosters ongoing growth. And these strategies can empower SLPs to enhance their emotional intelligence and then also interpersonal competencies and can lead to stronger clinical impact. And always remember that the better that we get, the better that our clients can get as well. And I feel like my favorite motto right now is you can't pour from an empty cup. All right, so let's look more into emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? We learned about it earlier. That is a subset from underneath soft skills. It's a raindrop of soft skills. And so the dictionary defines emotional intelligence as the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. Emotional intelligence is made up of several key components that are essential for effective clinical practice. And remember, I said earlier that emotional intelligence is a subset of those soft skills. So the subset, the other soft skills or the components that are included in emotional intelligence are self-awareness. Self-awareness involves recognizing one's emotions and understanding their impact on other people. We have self-regulation. It refers to managing emotions constructively, especially in stressful situations. Motivation. Motivation drives individuals to achieve their goals with persistence and enthusiasm. Empathy is another component of emotional intelligence. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, which is crucial for patient-centered care. And then also social skills. Social skills include effective communication, conflict resolution, and relationship management. And for SLPs, mastering these components of emotional intelligence enhances their ability to connect with patients. It helps them to navigate challenges that happen. And then also it helps them to foster collaborative environments. And I feel like that is a big one right now. Looking at the components, I would say social skills. A lot of people have difficulty with having social skills, especially in a work environment. We've been seeing that a lot. So helping others to look at those skills and maybe showing that within ourselves, maybe can rub off and help people to understand and use those skills as well. And we'll talk more about some of those things with the scenarios. All right, so earlier I did talk about how I did an assessment for my emotional intelligence. And so several standardized tests are available to use to do the assessment for emotional intelligence, each offering unique insights into an individual's emotional and social competencies. And so these tests help individuals and organizations understand emotional strengths and areas for development. And so one of the tests is called the Mayer Caruso Emotional Intelligence Test. It's the first one right here. It is a performance-based assessment that measures the ability to perceive, use, understand, and manage emotions. It evaluates how well individuals can solve emotional problems and also navigate emotional situations. The next assessment is called the Emotional Quotient Inventory EQI 2.0. It is a self-report tool that assesses emotional and social functioning, and it includes scales for self-perception, interpersonal skills, stress management, decision-making, also general mood. And this test is widely used in organizational settings to enhance leadership and team dynamics. And I'm going to show you an example of this test that I did in the next slide. The next assessment is called the Trait Emotional Intelligence Questionnaire. This test evaluates emotional self-perceptions and traits such as adaptability, assertiveness, and emotional regulation. It provides a comprehensive profile of an individual's emotional functioning, and it is useful for personal development. And the last assessment on the list is the Genos Emotional Intelligence Inventory. This test, it focuses on workplace emotional intelligence skills. It measures competencies such as emotional reasoning, self-awareness, and relationship management. And this test is particularly useful for improving workplace performance and leadership effectiveness. And so these assessments provide valuable feedback that can guide training and development initiatives, especially in the workplace. By understanding their emotional intelligence profile, speech language pathologists can work on enhancing their interpersonal skills, improving communication, and then also fostering better relationships in both personal and professional contexts. Alrighty, so I was first introduced to emotional intelligence in a healthcare leadership course that I took last year for the doctoral program. And this is the results that I received from the test. And this was done last year in May in the springtime. And during this time, when I took the test, I was under a lot of stress. I was burned out. So it definitely showed in my results. The things that I had the most difficulty with are things that I thought would have been my strengths. And so I thought I was a really good problem solver. I thought I was very flexible with things, but those were my lower scores. So my top three highest subscales were interpersonal relationships, social responsibility, and reality testing. And then my three lower subscales were problem solving, stress tolerance, because the stress was definitely kicking, and also flexibility. And so this is just an example how the EQI 2.0, this is how the test looks. All right, and here's some more of it. And so what the test does, it looks at different sections, right? Different skills, soft skills. And one of them was problem solving. The problem solving was my lowest subscale. And so the thing that I like about the test, the assessment, is that it shows you what your score means, and then it tells you how it impacts you as a leader, and it gives you strategies for action. It shows you how can you build on those weaknesses or areas of need, and it also shows you how you can make an action plan. And so this is just parts of an assignment that I had to do with it. So we took the assessment, right? We looked at our scores. We also looked to see what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses or areas of needs. And we created this chart called, or table called a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is where you look at your strengths, you look at your weaknesses, and then you also look at opportunities and then threats to your skills. And so some of my strengths from the assessment were self-actualization, reality testing, social responsibility, empathy, and interpersonal relationships. Some of the weaknesses or areas of needs that I showed were in problem solving, flexibility, self-regard, emotional self-awareness, independence, assertiveness, optimism, emotional expression, impulse control, stress tolerance, and higher risk of derailment. And like I said, it was a very high time of stress during that time. And then what I did was I looked at opportunities, like what are some things that I can use to build and help me to improve those weaknesses. And so some of the things would be using a decision matrix analysis table to improve problem solving, professional development opportunities in areas of need, mentorship programs, team building opportunities, and self-care and wellness programs for stress management. And then these were some of the threats. These are some things that could kind of get in the way of me building on or working on those skills. And so some of those things could be like regulatory changes of policies and procedures at work, burnout from job responsibility, doubting abilities and accomplishments, which is imposter syndrome. Other SLP leaders may create competition for leadership positions or economic changes and pressures. And so once I completed the SWOT analysis, what I did was I chose three of those skills, those weaknesses, and I made SMART goals for them. And so I used the three that I used, the three skills I wanted to improve on was problem solving, adaptability, and stress management. And as you can see, I put all three of them in here in another table, and I made them as a SMART goal where I would say I'm going to evaluate actions and adapt to improve flexibility and problem solving within 6 weeks. The benefit would be being able to keep track of actions, problem solving, and be more flexible. How was I going to measure it? And then talking about how am I going to support and what are some resources that I'm going to use to improve it. Some of them would be brainstorming, a thought shower, visual reminders, vision boards, planners. And then I also put the potential barriers, which could be like time management, procrastination, unexpected obstacles, lack of motivation. Those things could be barriers of me not being able to reach those goals. And so I thought it was really cool where, like I said, I looked at my emotional intelligence, the things that I could do, the things that I had trouble with, and then I took those areas of needs and I made goals for them. I see a lot of companies, they'll do this with their employees where they have them do their emotional intelligence to see where they are, and that'll help in maybe doing and making professional goals for them. And then you can use this for yourself to make professional goals or even personal goals for yourself. And so those are one of the tests that I did for emotional intelligence. This test, I did it for free. The school paid for it. They can be pricey, but you can find some free assessments online. All right, so let's get into some scenarios. Let me get a drink of water really quick. All right, so real world scenarios illustrate the practical application of emotional intelligence and soft skills in SLPs. And so I just wanted to show just a few scenarios of things that we deal with every day and how can we use our soft skills and also how can we apply emotional intelligence. And so one of the scenarios is building rapport with a child who is resistant to therapy. We've seen it before. And so the scenario is a 6-year-old child who refuses to participate in speech therapy and they become frustrated. And so soft skills in action, we can use active listening and have adaptability. And this can help you adjust your approach to meet the child's emotional needs. Emotional intelligence application, we can use self-awareness. You can recognize your own frustration and stay calm. You can use empathy, where you understand the child's fear and validate their feelings. Some things that you can say, some things you can say are, I see this is hard for you, and that's okay, and we'll take it slow. Social skills, you use play-based strategies and positive reinforcement to make the session enjoyable. So those are some emotional intelligence and soft skills in action that you can use for this scenario. All right, another scenario would be supporting a parent after a difficult diagnosis. This is a really, really hard one. The scenario can be a parent learns that their child has a language disorder and feels overwhelmed. We definitely see this a lot, even though we don't diagnose autism, but we definitely see this a lot whenever a student is first diagnosed with autism. And so the emotional intelligence application would be empathy. You acknowledge their emotions and you can say things like, it's completely normal to feel worried, or you can say, you're not alone in this. You can also use relationship management. You can provide clear, compassionate explanations. You can give the parent resources. You can build trust and you can help them to reduce their anxiety. I mean, building trust can help them to reduce their anxiety. Soft skills in action, definitely communication and also emotional regulation can help the parent feel supported rather than they feeling judged. Here's another scenario. This can be used not even just in a school setting with like an assessment team, but also in a private practice, in rehab. We all work as a team, right? We work with other disciplinaries such as occupational therapists, physical therapists, teachers, also diagnosticians, school psychologists, all of those. So this can help with collaborating with a multidisciplinary team. The scenario can be you work with teachers, occupational therapists, and then also psychologists to create an individualized education plan, which is an IEP. This is in the school setting. Emotional intelligence application, you can use social awareness, where you respect different professional perspectives and you listen actively. You can also use conflict management. When a disagreement happens, you use diplomacy and you always focus on the shared goals for the child. You always keep the child in mind. And then also soft skills and action for this scenario, we can say that teamwork, communication, and problem solving, it fosters a collaborative environment. All right. And the next scenario is handling a client's emotional outbursts. This is another one that we can see during speech therapy sessions. So the scenario can be an adult client or an adult client. It can be also with a student or a private client, but this one talks about in a rehab setting. So an adult client recovering from a stroke becomes frustrated during speech exercises and they lash out. Emotional intelligence application would be self-regulation. You remain calm and avoid reacting defensively. The next one would be empathy, where you can acknowledge their frustration and you can see this is tough. You can also say things like, let's take a break and try it again. Some soft skills in action, you can use patience, and then also resilience will help maintain a therapeutic relationship. And so one of the last scenarios is adapting to cultural and linguistic diversity. The scenario can be a bilingual child struggles with speech in both languages, and the family has cultural expectations about therapy. And so emotional intelligence, you can apply some social awareness skills where you respect cultural norms and incorporate them into their therapy. You can also apply relationship management, which you communicate in a culturally sensitive way. And you can also ensure the family that they feel understood. Some soft skills in action would be cultural competence and also flexibility to improve outcomes. All right, I'm going to open up the chat, or if you want to get off the mic and maybe kind of answer this. What are some scenarios or things that you have gone through that you felt that you could have used soft skills for, or you've used soft skills for? Anyone want to say any?
Mm. For me, I do work in the college, and we do have students and we have clients, and we do have a child who does not want to go into the therapeutic room. So I
Yes.
think that this would definitely help my students with this
Yes,
one of those scenarios that you have there. Thank you.
definitely. And definitely one that comes to mind is adaptability, right? Where a soft skill that comes to mind is adaptability, where you have to always be adaptable to the change.
Yes, yes.
Hmm. Anyone else have a scenario? All right, we'll keep on going. All right, and then in summary, emotional intelligence and soft skills are foundational for effective clinical practice in speech language pathology. These competencies enhance patient care, foster professional relationships, and support ethical and empathetic interactions. Also, key takeaways from the presentation would be importance of self-awareness, empathy, and communication in clinical settings, as well as strategies for ongoing development, such as reflective practice and role playing. And SLPs are encouraged to integrate these skills into their daily work to achieve stronger clinical impact and contribute to a more compassionate and collaborative healthcare environment. And then also knowing that soft skills and emotional intelligence don't just enhance you professionally, but they can also help you personally as well. Here are some of my references. These are the references. And then here's my contact information. And then also want to open up the chat or open up your mics if you have any questions. And then this is a really good quote that I found on emotional intelligence and soft skills. This one says, "No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care."